Hi, Fernando Nunes here. Welcome to my class about sketching. In this class, you're gonna learn how I draw from references to create something new. I'm using Photoshop, but you can use any kind of softwares like Procreate, Krita, GIMP, and so many others that you feel comfortable. The concept of these softwares are pretty much the same. They handle with bitmap images, and you can create new layer for each new elements that you will be drawing. Of course, you can use only paper and pencil. If you know my work, you know that I love start drawing on paper first. The purpose of this class is how you can take your references, mix them together, and create something unique by using basic shapes and guidelines. Let's get into it. If you don't have what to draw, I highly recommend you to take a look at some inspiration on Pinterest or Google. Just type the month that we are currently, followed by the words drawing challenge. So you can see a lot of cool contests that can provide you more inspiration and more visibility when you publish your drawing. The drawing from this class is about a challenge for the month of May, and the contest is called Mermaid, where you have to draw a mermaid following the concept for each day of the month. I know I'm a little bit late to join to this challenge, but I really wanted to participate. I really wanted to create an octopus mermaid, so there we go. Go to Pinterest to get a reference for the pose of your character. And here, just type pose reference. There we go. I like this one. I like the action lines that this woman is looking like. Let me just open it in another tab. Now let's take a look at some octopus mermaid and see what we got. Octopus mermaid. This one is cool, but let me take a look for more. Well, this one is fire. Let me open in another tab again. Let me put them side by side. Okay, so we got the references. Now let me open my Photoshop. Create a new document, 1800 by 2600. Okay, cool. Let's keep our background layer as white, and let's drag and drop a paper texture over it. These files are available for download here as well. Let's press Ctrl U and decrease the saturation until it gets black and white. Great, and make sure to put this layer in multiply blending mode. Great, now create a new layer and let's start drawing from here. Let me move my Photoshop to my Wacom tablet and cool, let's do it. First of all, I'm going to create her head. Let's identify her head position. As usual, I start the head drawing a circle. I'm using the default hard round brush from Photoshop with very small size. Keep in mind that every single human head that I draw, I imagine firstly a circle being the top of the head. We draw an axis line being her eyebrow. It's curved. We know that this sphere is rotated, so we draw the direction line for her eyebrow. And now the middle axis in the vertical. It's curved as well. Something like this. It's good to work with references. You know that her forehead is around here, so we need to draw her chin inside it. A small circle, and then just connect this part, right? And then draw an ellipse to limit the side of her head. To draw another surface to the sphere. We're kind of cutting off this part over here. Can you see it? So this silhouette becomes more shrinked. So we have this ellipse over here, and then we got the middle axis of the ellipse. Let me erase this line that is unneeded, right? And then connect the axis, the middle axis of the ellipse to the chin. Alright, we have pretty much our head structure. And then we go to the neck, which starts from here and then it goes down, makes a curve here. Alright, and then around here we have a straight line being her neck. Okay, if you want to trace an ellipse here, just to see that we are working with 3D shapes, it's good as well. Now we need to create an ellipse, a big ellipse tilted this way, something like this, and then another ellipse around here, but tilted in the opposite side. Then we erase this part. Let me highlight this part. There we go. So we have pretty much our body structure. We know that her neck finishes around here, and if you look at the reference, the photo reference, we can see a small circle in this part over here. We call shoulder, you know. And the other side of the shoulder we can't see because her chest is overlaying it. But references is just to guide our drawing, and rules are made to be broken. So we can draw a guideline here and draw the other side of the shoulder just to bring more perspective. So now we are going to decide which position better fits to our character. In our reference, the arm is going down, right? It's kind of straight, but I want the arm more dynamic. I'm not gonna draw this straight down. I'm going to rotate her shoulder. I'm going to draw a line with this angle so her arm will be bent. And this line could be a cylinder. You can just draw in a ellipse in the beginning and the end, and then connect it. It should be smaller. Now we can create another circle in order to be her elbow. Now let's draw her forearm. We just need to create a line coming from the center of this circle and decide which angle, because we can rotate our forearm, right? And I'm gonna try around here. Great. We have the line of our forearm. There we go. And then we need to create another circle to be the connection between our forearm and our hand. And if you want to, just connect the circles, starting small from the hand and getting bigger until it gets to our elbow. In our picture, there are no hands being shown, right? It's time to pick up another reference from the internet, from Pinterest, Google, or whatever, or even take a picture of you, just like I did here in this tutorial, and put them together to mix another reference. Basically, what we're going to do here is to draw a box to be the palm of the hand and connect 3 cylinders for each finger except the thumb, following some techniques. I'm gonna drop in this video description an additional class of one of my favorite artists called Stan Prokopenko that helped me a lot how to draw hands. And for the hands, we can connect a box to this sphere over here. One surface of the box, here we draw the another side and then the right side. We're gonna get this side of the box and divide by 4 the little finger. The other finger, let me make it smaller. The middle finger, and then the index finger over here. The middle finger size, which is the bigger one, right, is the same size of our hand, of our basis hand. We have kind of curve here because here it is the highest point and then it goes decreasing the size, and here as well Let's imagine the fingers as cylinders. So here we have an ellipse. The middle between this curve and the top of the box is the segments of our fingers. Here we have the little finger, and then we have one segment, which is a cylinder. The middle between these two lines will be the other segments of the fingers. So here we have another cylinder and another one. The same happens to the other fingers. I think this curve is too large compared to the other segments of the finger. I'm gonna draw them smaller than this guideline over here. One more cylinder and another one. Here, here, and here. Let me just erase this part. We are going to create some surface to the cylinders, which will give more depth to the fingers and it will make more realistic. And especially because by working with different surface, it's very easy to know where are the areas to apply shadows and lights. To get the thumb, we need to divide the box in the middle. We know that this part around here would be the thumb, but it is in the other side. The box is overlaying it, so we can't see it. So we just need to draw just a little bit of the thumb here. We have the structure, then we can make it better by just sketching over it. I think this part should be smaller, but I will fix it later. After creating the structure, it's time to draw only the lines that really matter. We are not going to draw the segments itself. Their purpose is just to know where we need to change the angle of the fingers. I think this should be more straight here. And then it closes around here. Yeah. And then the thumb. Let's make some shadows respecting the surface that we have made. That's the reason it's important to start with basic shapes and imagining them as 3D shapes, because it's very easy for you when you want to apply shadow and light, of course. Maybe this thumb here, it's a little bit strange. The correct pose would be here, around here. Yeah, I think it's better. Once we have the box, we have to think how's the hand position. Will be closed, will be open, half open. I think this position, half open, will fit better to my idea. Something like this, because we have the box, the bottom, like this. We have the surface of the fingers, which is here, and the palm. By having our position in mind or in reference, you can take a picture and use as reference, okay? Let's take our first finger reference. This could be any finger, but let's start from the little finger. If we look at the direction of every single finger, you can notice that the angle gets wider from the palm. The lines never get parallel between each other and their direction gets further away from the box, right? Now just draw the square cylinders by connecting the shapes. We have an ellipse here. Let's connect it. Great. We have the first segment of the finger. The second and the third ones is about the same size of it, having a division with small differences of sizes. Here it is just another cylinder. In this division, you can change the angle of the segment, of course. Time to go to the ring finger. The first segment, we know that is a bit bigger than the little finger. You don't need to draw it bigger itself. Depending on the angle, the size that you were defining your object would look like in perspective, and that would be good enough. I think this size is good. Another sharpened cylinder. We have the first segment. We know that the second and third segment is the same size of it, with a division with a small difference of size again. Let's make an ellipse, connect with a line, and again, and the other segment we can change the angle. I'm going to apply the same process to the other fingers, considering the middle finger bigger than the ring finger and the index finger smaller than the middle and about the same size of the ring finger. Alright, let's do it. And for the thumb, I have a little tricky here. You have to imagine a triangle here connected to this part in here, and this triangle is formed by surface as well. If you imagine it in 3D, you can see that we have a triangle connected to this part of the hand, and this triangle could also be moved. Let's find out another position. Something like this. This could be more extended. I think when it comes to the front, when it comes towards you, this part becomes bigger. The base of the triangle becomes bigger. This is what looks like actually. I think this one is good. Now we just need to draw more two cylinders divided in the middle. It should be with this angle actually. It would be better. Now we got one cylinder and another one. And then we got the circle connected to a cylinder, which is her arm. Of course, this arm is much bigger than this other. This is our advantage by working with digital graphics. We can resize it and make it proportional. I have made some adjustments, like the size of the first segments of the fingers. I realized that the little finger was bigger than the ring finger, so I make it smaller and make it more further away from the palm, more open to avoid tangents. I think it's better. The good thing by creating drawings on digital, you can modify easily things, and by working with basic shapes, you can handle easily because basic shapes is just basic. They are easy to understand. And now to create depth, you have to imagine some axis line from the squares and creating surfaces and the fingers. So we have pretty much the surfaces that will receive shadow or lights. Make it rounded. Maybe I would do some changes because I think its current position, it's curved outside, something like this. It's not a natural motion to our hands. We can't bend the palm up or out, but a little in or down. I think the little finger should be smaller. Something like this, in order to get this direction, this silhouette. Maybe a little more. I think this segment of the ring finger is not bent as I drew it, just like it is looking. Should be more straight. It's much better. Okay, cool. We know the middle of this ellipse and also here. Let's draw the tentacles. First thing, let's divide our canvas by 3. So we are going to position and limit the tentacles somehow around those guides. Make a guideline in the center and divide the center again. Here we can start with a tentacle, a very curved tentacle, and very thick because it is in our first plan. It's in front of everything, something like this. We have the first tentacle structure. Now let's make one more here. They work like circles inside circles, and the ones in the front are bigger than the ones in the backwards. Another one here. Very, very curved, making a spiral. Here we have another one. Now I'm using different color for the tentacles located in the background, because using different colors for elements in different perspectives help us to understand the composition without making us confused. Her body was kind of flying over the canvas, so I wanted to close her hip in order to define the entire silhouette without having any open shape. Basically, I'm drawing parts of a circle in the first plan without showing any tip of the tentacles, which is supposed to be like cylinders. And for the third plan tentacles, I'm gonna change a little bit the predominant shapes from circles to spiral and smooth curved lines. It works like a cone with curvatures, always in parallel, but always open, always resizing down until it forms a tip. It's time to draw the elements of her face. As you can see here, I sketched already her hair, but I didn't like it. Don't worry, just chill. We will be covering her hair after drawing her face, right? If you look at the reference, you can see that her head is a kind different compared to my drawing. I think this angle over here should be more something like this. Let's fix it and consider this new guideline to draw our face elements. Let me erase this old guideline. Okay, great. Now we can replicate it and get the direction of each element of the face. Here we have the eyebrow line, the eye line, the nose line, and the mouth line. The proportions all depends how different you want to draw the person, but this is just for guiding, and consider drawing in one side what I will be drawing in another side. For example, we have the eyebrow line, so we can start from here, and we know that the center is here. By knowing the center is here, we need to make the same distance around here, considering the perspective, and then we make a curve. And then you can just connect the curve by starting thicker and going thin till it gets to the end. The same to the other side. Good. Now we can draw her eyes, which will be located in this guideline, in this direction. I'm making circles to limit her eyelid and not the eye itself. The silhouette of the eye will be inside the circle. We're going to start drawing a curve, and then a small curve to this side, and then another curve downside, and then goes up again. The same happens in the other side, but now we are going to use only the curve here. We are not going to finish the eye just like that. It needs to be curved, and then a curve going down and then going up and down again. Once we have the eyebrow and the eyes, we can pretty much define and change her head shape. For example, we have her forehead here, alright? So we know that when the line reaches to our eyebrow, it works like an extrude to outside. It goes inside again, then goes outside, make another curve, and then we can continue this new shape later, okay? Let's make it bigger. For drawing the nose, we have to extrude a triangle from the center of the frontal surface. We have this guideline here that it's supposed to be used for the nose, but I think it's too close to her eyes, and I'm going to move it down a little bit. We have to extrude a triangle from the center. We have to use this guideline to be the basis of our triangle. For example, around here and here, we have the basis of our triangle, and then we have to connect until it gets in the middle axis. The same happens in the other side. Connect again. We are looking to a unique surface, right? So we need to create one more line here, which will be the bottom hole, the bottom surface. Once we have the triangles, we need to create a circle around here and another one lower than the first one. Then we get another one in the other side, but the frontal circle is overlaying it, so we just need to draw a little bit of it. Then create the hole with a simple curve in one side, the other side of the nose. Highlight this part, follow the shape of the circle, then draw the other hole, something like this, then this part. Let's make it bigger, something like this, and then connect to the eyebrow. As we have the bottom surface, we know that this part receives shadow. So we can draw the silhouette of the nose and make it darker. For drawing the mouth, if you want to move the guideline up or down, you can do it, but I think in this position is good enough. The proportion that I'm going to use here is identify this part of the eye, and we know that her mouth starts here. So we follow the guideline, this curvature, and then when we get here in the middle of the nose, we just create a curve following its direction. And then we can go down again, go up and left a little bit to the left, and getting back up to the right a little bit. And then we can draw like a wave, going down, getting up, going down again, until it gets in the beginning of the lip. I will be making it more curved, something like this. As I have made this very smooth, I think this doesn't need to be sharp just like I did here. We don't need to have a corner here. We must have to create a curve as well, because it is the shape of this part. I would do it as a corner as well, but I preferred rounded shapes. As I prefer to work with smooth curves, I think I need to fix those corners around here, here and here. because it is a curved lip. So I'm going to erase this part, make it curved, and here I think I need to make something like this and more curved here. Now we have to draw an ellipse from the upper lip to the chin, and make sure to draw it aligned inside and in the vertical compared to her upper lips. Something like this. I would do it bigger here, and we are not going to use the entire ellipse. Let me decrease the opacity a little bit, because we are going to use only this part here. Just highlight this part and make a kind of drop shadow, something like this. Let's make it more rounded. Great. And you can make it more beautiful by applying kind of light and effects here by drawing a simple ellipse and drawing a smaller one below. You can bring more depth and more expression by creating kind of curve here. When we reach to this part of any human head, any creator head that have nose and mouth and chin, always do this logic: shadow, light, shadow, light, shadow, light. So here we need to apply a layer of shadow. Here we have already the shadow, drop it from her lower lip, and here we have the chin. By applying this rule, you will be following what happens actually in our face, because when we have a source of light in front of us, the white part is the light, and then the other ones are the dropped shadows. Let me just move upwards a little bit her eyes. I think it's better. First thing you're gonna do is to identify the place you want the hairline. I'm used to draw around here and make a curve following the frontal surface of her forehead. Then when we get to the side of the sphere, we need to make an inverted curve until it gets to this vertical axis of the side head. By doing this, we can pretty much define her here. Once we get those lines, let's decide the haircut division. This could be following this curve or even following the curve in the middle line. I'm gonna choose the head side and start drawing the outline of the head. This can be just a little bit bigger than the head until it gets around the mouth and the left side. And in the right side, we draw until it gets around her neck. When drawing hair underwater, the hairs tend to flow outward and spreading from the scalp. Draw some light guidelines with the direction you want the hair to flow. Here is my first one. I tend to start by drawing a curve that represents the hair fringe, keeping the scalp visible, and then continue with a curve to get the directional flow of the hair. I found a cool way here where she is interacting with the hair lock. When drawing underwater hair, I recommend using variations in the curves of the hair to give it a more natural feeling before closing the curve. Besides drawing a lot of variation of size in the middle of the strand, I tend to keep the curves smaller from the roots and then larger as the hair locks goes towards to the tip. Each hair comes from a specific point and grows in different direction. You can play a lot with the direction of the hair because the water could be moving in any direction. In my case, I'm going to make the source of the strands be directed as if it were thrown backwards, with few curve variations, with curves directed to the same flow. Hair locks must somehow wrap the head following the curves of its surface. Now let's come up with more hair locks. Let's draw more curves around the canvas to make her hair more evenly distributed through the composition. In the left side, we are good. It's time to fill with some more in the right side. It's good to consider the existing elements in the composition interacting with the hair. For example, draw some hair locks backwards her body and some others overlaying her arm, for example. We have enough hair in the left side and the right side, but I think we need to come up with some more in the middle area. I think it's too empty around here. And of course, we need to draw the curves flowing towards her chest. And yeah, I think we are good with the hair. For drawing details of the tentacles, let's imagine the tentacles as cylinders or even curved box. Let's say curved box because it's much easier to understand its surfaces. We know that one surface is the up part of the tentacle and the other is where is located the suction thing of the tentacles. We know that those suction thing are perfect circles, actually, if we look from the front, but they are not being seen from the front. We need to put them in a perspective. We need to follow the path of the tentacle because it is very, very curved. For putting circles in perspective, we need to shrink them. We need to create them as ellipses. As far as it gets from your view, you can shrink more and more. It doesn't need to be perfect, it's just for guiding us, okay? Let's draw some more small circles inside it. For the second plane tentacle, let's revert the process. Let's draw the very, very far section here. Start with a very shrinked ellipse, which is kinda outside of the tentacle, and as close as it gets to the front, the ellipses become bigger and more looking like a circle. They are following a path going from outside to inside. Now just create the other side of the section and the small circles inside it. And keep in mind to consider drawing smaller section for each plane located backwards. Let's draw more curves inside curves so that we can show lots of depth and dimension, looking like a twist, you know. Use this sucker placement and profile to represent the twist as well. Remember, these suckers run in lines of parallel pairs and become more misaligned when twisting. Just play it out with different curves for surfaces and different circles and ellipses for the suckers, and we are good. Let's move to the next step. We have pretty much everything structured except her body. I want to improve her body because we are working only with basic shapes. I think it's too basic. We need to draw some more connections in order to get more depth and make it more realistic. For example, we need to create her breast. Just draw a straight line going downwards, something like this, and then another curve going inside. Cool. Then we know that this is the middle, and we need to draw the other part of the breast, something like this, and then connect to the bottom side of the shoulder. Great. The same happens to her back. I think it's too basic. We are working only with two ellipses and we need to connect the upper part of the back to the bottom part, something like this. And here we just need to fix making some small curves and we are good. The same happens to her arm here. I mean, her arm is too straight. we need to create some small muscles. I don't want her too strong, you know. I just need to create some curves in order to make it more realistic. For example, let's connect the shoulder, and then we have the triceps. The curve is in the top, and then it goes closing, and her biceps is the same, but the curve is located more in the center of the cylinder. Her forearm, some more details, her belly, and cool. As you can see here, the sketch is very colorful. I just drew it in this style in order to you better understand each element of the illustration. But there's a trick to make it all black and white. Just click on this half circle, select hue saturation, and decrease it all the way left. Now I'm going to increase the size of the brush, create a new layer, decrease the layer opacity, and start creating some shadows for the sketch. I have some default logics to start applying shadows that you can realize in all my characters. Basically, the shadows are just some way to define surface to the elements. In the head, I start a shadow dropping from the hair. I go to the eye, which is deeper. All the deeper parts will be applied shadow. Then I go to the nose, define one surface in this side, and then a surface in the bottom. Then I continue the deeper part of the eye by painting the side of the head. The same happens in another side of the eye. Let's paint the deeper part. I want a little more shadow, so let's paint almost everything, respecting the curvature of the lips, of course, in gray. Let's erase a little bit of her cheek because it's not deeper, it's more in the front, you know. Now the hair and the scalp, we know that is underneath this strand of hair. So everything that's located underneath something needs to have shadow. For example, this part of the hair as well. Let's drop a shadow in her neck. We have more underneath and backwards hairs around here. We can make some more on the divisions of the hair here in the upside. Okay, there we go. And here we have more parts underneath, also other surfaces. This strand of hair is dropping a shadow to her breast. As we are creating shadow in most part of the right side of everything, we just need to do it in all the elements like I'm just doing here in her arm. It doesn't need to be perfect. Believe me that if you just throw away shadows on your artwork, this will take it into another level. Let me put some more in her hair around here. And for the tentacles, I just want to separate one surface from the other. So I'm gonna paint only the surfaces that have the suction cup. Excepting the frontal tentacles that I want to drop shadow from the suction cups itself. I think this will be better to separate the surface from the ellipses. I'm gonna follow this same logic. It is just time to test and make things darker to give more depth to all the elements and make your sketch more rich in terms of details. That's it, my sketch is pretty much ready to be vectorized. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comment below. See you in the next video.